they take the names of honorable people, and then they're not honorable.
And what was his name previous to Senator?
He lived, now Aaron David Miller, I think that is possibly his name. It might have been Mule. And I'm not saying that just because they changed the name, they're bad.
Right.
But what I am saying is there is this idea that go ahead and change it and be somebody else, kind of a snake, you know, changing colors for the moment, not being honorable and truthful. Saying my family is Rosinski. Heck, I'd be Rosinski, you know. I'm the 8th Catherine in a row from Scotland. It's ridiculous. But my daughter's Catherine and my granddaughter's Catherine. We're just, you know, it's a family tradition. Weird, but we're happy with that. David Satterfield, the reason I went there was because in the spring I went to a dinner. It was either a dinner or luncheon that the World Affairs Council had in Norfolk. And he was speaking. And I'm very interested in peace because as a Christian, I want it. I know it's possible if people are reasonable. And this talk that David Satterfield gave, there were probably 20 mentions of Israel to one of the Palestinians. He was extremely biased, arrogant. The arrogance is what bothers me, because you can't have peace, you can't have justice where there's imbalance. And even that comes from the Greek Furies, you know, the female who holds the justice. Women understand balance and justice. And women know, mothers know, if you show favoritism towards one child, the other child's not going to be normal the rest of its life. So a wise mother is fair and tries to be balanced, as most families do that are balanced. Well, after having heard the bias and so forth, and then seeing other people who were involved in the State Department in Norway when I was there, when my husband was doing some weapons deals with Newt Eigum and some of the State Department people under the table when we were supposedly going to Moss for the mayor, and her husband and George were doing some deals. He's sort of a pilot, and you know there's a lot going on between Norfolk, Virginia Beach, and Norway, and weapons deals and so forth now because of what they set up in the spring of '95. So I went into the State Department Near East section and found there was not one single Palestinian, not one single Muslim, religious, Saudi, you know, Jordanian, not one Christian Protestant, not one Roman Catholic, not one plain old American, whatever, from Corn Punk. Every single person in all of those offices were either Zionists, Israelis, whatever, and they had pictures all over the wall of Israel, Israel, Israel. They had magazines, Israel Today. You know, I was given a copy of one. And there were yarmulkes, you know, and the Israeli writing. In other words, and I asked one of the women after having gone through about, 4 or 5 of these offices, I said, because I was pretending like I really, I was just kind of wanting to know where the Palestinian office was. She said, well, we can't help that. We can't help that.
And this is the State Department, the
Near East, the part that handles Israel, Jordan, all of these.
Egypt.
Yeah, the Near East section. Yeah.
It was just totally dominated by Israeli.
Totally. And at that time, the spokesman, I can't remember his name, he was a Zionist, the spokesman for the whole State Department. Of course, we know that, and I'm not saying that Madeleine Albright is doing a bad job, because I feel as though being a woman that she is definitely a lot more balanced than Weinberger when he was there, Eagleberger, Schultz, or any of them. Because I feel as if she's trying to do it, but she's not strong enough. There needs to be a fairness in the State Department, because all the weapons sales under the table are going through the State Department. That's why Ron Brown was murdered. Ron Brown tried for the first time to take away the unfair State Department monopoly on illegal weapons and drug deals. Because the weapons, the drug money is paying for the weapons. The brand new weapons are sold by agents of Israel or this.
No, is this a conclusion you've drawn based on your knowledge of this?
Yeah, Gorbachev, whatever the guy's name is. Gorbachev, and it was either him or my husband worked with him. My husband was the one who was chief of staff under Al Gray when North was moved from the Atlantic Command to the National Security Council.
Ollie North.
And when you work in the White House, you work under the Army. The Marines have no overlord as such. They are, they can float, they can be truck drivers, still be 4th Marine, but they're run out of New Orleans, just like Oswald was. See, Oswald was homosexually recruited by Clay Shaw, David Ferry, that whole, the New Orleans, Meyer Lansky's guy, Jack Rubenstein, who was Jack Ruby. All the funding for these operations go through the joint, the mob. And Oswald's mother had moved to New York, and he had gotten under this Zionist psychiatrist. I can't remember his name. But then he came down to check on him. He was brilliant. He wasn't motivated. He wasn't told he was special. His dad died or whatever, And his father was a, I believe, a German soldier. But the point is, Oswald was a loner, brilliant, and a perfect candidate. He and my husband's profile are just, in fact, they almost look alike. And
you mean their profile in terms of their background,
psychological,
not their physical profile.
Yeah, and even they look alike. And what's interesting is,
You always notice that he had a double.
this is interesting. My husband, when I saw him in June, after his having lived with me that fall, he was different, a different facial everything than the man I married. The man I married and the man I saw in June were one and the same. Full face, the mouth, the mouth was fine, but the man that I was with, and I know that I felt it was not the same person. Now, I don't think he could have gained that much weight in just a few months, because he was very thin, and it. Now I could be just, but women sense things. I don't know how to explain it. And I talked to a good friend of Marina Oswald's who knows that her husband was a patsy. And I talked to another woman in El Paso who was in the book The Widows, whose husband was a German, or rather a Czechoslovakian, whose father and two brothers had come over here as mercenaries, like all of these young men are still doing today. And father took the little boy and his sister, leaving the mother back in Czechoslovakia. Evidently she had had an affair or something, but she was there. I think they did this on purpose, because I'm finding that the boys identify with their mothers. They don't bond so much with the fathers. And they are their mother's keeper in that country. I've talked to an Indian who had this situation, a little boy from Haiti, and a young boy from Romania. Each and every scenario was the same. The mothers were back there. They did 5 years to become an American citizen. They were mercenaries. They did things that made one of them cry. And he told me what was done when they did a hit. There was one man who did things that were just horrible, and I want to get out. And this is horrible to put young men who are strict Roman Catholics, you know, they've got that background, and bring them over here and make assassins of them, or in other words, to turn them in a 5-year period, and for the taxpayers to pay for this. These young men are training with SEALs. They may have a mother who's an American and a father who's French, so they can go both ways. And therefore, they're not under the laws of the United States, so they can go do the actual murders or whatever. And in Oswald's case, if you remember, he didn't have any problem getting into the Soviet Union. And he went into the State Department on Saturday. The man who saw him was his Zionist. He didn't even meet anybody else. Special, illegal. Then he went to this